There are currently 817,000 TV shows streaming online.
So it's no wonder you can't seem to watch some of the most popular television shows out there, or your best friend of 7 years' favorite show.
So today we're watching each other's favorite TV shows and trying to guess the ending by only watching the pilot episode.
Guessing the plot after one episode.
For the first time, I watched Friends. The first episode of Friends finds us in a coffee shop as the gang recall different dating, sex, and lesbian stories before Jennifer Aniston comes in after fleeing her wedding. The rest of the episode follows Rachel and the gals and then Ross and the guys as they both navigate the falling out of their respective partnerships. Monica is also on a date with a guy talking about a past partnership too and the subsequent erectile dysfunction. But aside from that, Rachel cuts her credit cards to stop using her parents' money and then gets asked out by Ross.
So Joe, after seeing your first ever episode of Friends, how many seasons do you think it ran for?
Between How I Met Your Mother and Friends, one went for 10 seasons and one went for 11 seasons. 10 seems to be too round a number, so I'm gonna lock in 11.
Okay. Question 2. What do you think the character arcs are for every single main character introduced to you?
I'm gonna make the guess that everyone couples up by the end, like in the Big Bang Theory.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say Rachel and Ross get together. I've heard the teasing on the internet, the will they, won't they of Rachel and Ross. I'm gonna presume that happens. Chandler and Phoebe, it's hard to tell with these two because they're the least developed in the first episode. I think they're just kind of like the kooky side characters. But maybe along the way, they find some love for each other. They start being kooky together.
Okay.
Let's say Chandler and Phoebe
They
hook
shack up? Okay, respect.
Yeah,
respect,
I
respect.
reckon. And my crazy take is maybe Monica and Joey shack up.
Okay.
Monica keeps on getting around by dickhead guys. Joey is a dickhead guy. Maybe over the course of a million seasons, Joey becomes a better man.
Okay.
Monica sees this and maybe falls for him, whether she should or not. So that's what I think happens to all the main characters.
Okay, very fair. What do you think now the climax of the entire series is?
So I think after 10 seasons, over many trials and tribulations, they all get married, they start having kids. Rachel and Ross, they're popping out at least 3 kids. Chandler and Phoebe, we'll see what happens. They're probably the odd couple that have no kids. And then Joey and Monica, maybe they run overseas together. Maybe they all part ways, or maybe the apartment gets knocked down because I imagine they're staying in this Manhattan apartment for the whole entirety of this series. Maybe they all stay friends.
Wouldn't that be nice? To show friends, they all stay friends. Let's reveal how Joe went. Let's start off with how many seasons it went for. It actually went for 10. You were so spot on, you were so close.
Damn.
To move to the characters and how you went with that, it is bang on that Ross and Rach do have this whole will they, won't they for the entire show.
I'm a genius.
And it's infuriating, and they do end up shacking up and having some kids. They have a kid together. They have the kid out of wedlock, is by accident, and so while the baby is born, they're still separated for the longest time until eventually, literally right at the end, they get together. Onto Chandler and Phoebe. Chandler actually shacks up with Monica. Yeah. Monica does learn to trust, and there is like a random, whoa, Monica and Chandler moment, and that's very exciting.
Okay.
But they end up having kids of their own. They end up adopting because they couldn't have their own kids.
Kids.
They have kids. And you are somewhat correct. The apartment doesn't get knocked down, but they do end up, Monica and Chandler, moving out to the burbs.
Okay.
Phoebe shacks up with Paul Rudd, and they want to have a bunch of kids and get married. Joey's the only one that you'd think he starts to get a bit of character development because he actually shacks up with Rachel at a time, right?
Really?
They think they're in love. They're not. It doesn't work out. And we see this really sweet side to Joey. And then what happens is Joey turns from this guy that's slightly goofy, kind of stupid, to like, writers just decided this guy is going to be bottom of the barrel stupid, but he's still like one of the most lovable characters in the entire show.
Okay. Well, so I pretty much had it, right? Kids. Everyone has kids.
Everyone's still
kids.
friends.
I'd call that like a 90% correct.
Yeah, everyone moves away, but they're still friends. Yeah, I'd say you're pretty darn close.
Hey, thanks. I'll steal that. I am not 90% there at all.
So for the first time, I watched Breaking Bad. So in the pilot, high school chemistry teacher Walter White, who lives a terribly grim life, discovers he has terminal lung cancer. Through a ride along with his DEA brother-in-law, he runs into an ex-student, Jesse Pinkman, a meth dealer who Walt eventually partners up with to cook some of that sweet, sweet meth. Why? Because he's dying and wants to leave money behind for his family. After stealing lab equipment and cooking in an RV, their product impresses a dealer. But things go south when Jesse's old associate, meth cook Emilio, suspects them of working with the DEA. Walter uses chemistry to kill Emilio and Crazy 8, and just barely escaping with his life, he sees what the life of a drug dealer could look like, and he doubles down on it anyways.
So Mac, after watching the best TV show of all time, how many seasons do you think it went for?
I think it ran for 8. I think it probably got more budget as it went on as well.
Okay, interesting. And what do you think the big arcs and endings were for each of the main characters?
So Walter White, I think he's just taken on so much darkness from the world. His wife kind of sucks, his life sucks, his job sucks, the kids don't listen to him in school. I think he's just absorbed so much darkness. I think he's finally ready to start giving that darkness back out to the world. I think he's gonna become a kingpin dealer. I don't think he's gonna play small fiddle. I think that harsher side that we see come from him, I think is gonna be really explored. It potentially is gonna become more than him just needing money to help his family. I think he's gonna get super deep into it. And I think there's gonna be a little bit of greed involved in like, wow, there's so much money here. And I think it's just gonna blow up way out of proportion of what it needed to be for him to set up his family for life. I think Jesse Pinkman, despite being a bit of a young head and isn't really good in hot situations, I think he's gonna develop that business pressure. He's gonna become the front man. And I think Walt's gonna be that spooky guy behind the scenes. I know that he shaves his head and gets a bit more of an intimidating look. I think Jesse's gonna be the guy that does a lot of the business negotiations and becomes really good at that. I think he'll end up taking on the entire operation. So his wife, Skylar, I think she's gonna end up divorced, and I think, sadly, because of the stress of what will probably unfold, I think she might have a miscarriage with her baby that's coming up. And I think she's also gonna lose her other son. I think he's gonna get caught in the crossfire. I think just like Walter's whole world's gonna crumble down. But I think the show's gonna get grittier, like just grittier and grittier with every season. I think Hank is gonna try and track down this new kingpin drug dealer. But because Walt is so close and he's so smart, he's gonna somehow keep on evading Hank for the longest time to the later seasons. And then I think Hank's eventually gonna find out. I don't think he's gonna be able to do much about it at this stage. But I just got a feeling that Walt's gonna be so evil that Hank will find out and Walt will be like, so what? What are you gonna do? Marie, the sister, I just hope she dies. Just dies a fiery death. I hate her so much. They are my character assumptions for the entire show.
All right. How do you think the entire show climaxes and ends?
So I think in the show, they're gonna live a pretty lavish life at some point. I think there's gonna be a moment where everything comes together and then Walt and his wife are doing great because there's money. But then I think everything is just gonna start crumbling. Much like the Roman Empire, Joe. It's gonna spread so big, it becomes so big that it just can't be sustainable in such a dangerous world, like that criminal world. Someone's gonna wanna take him down. Someone's gonna want his recipe. Someone's just gonna want him gone because he's taking their business. I think they're gonna outgrow just the area that they're selling it in. So I think that he ends up getting gunned down in what I assume will be some massive chase. I'm assuming there's gonna be like a police chase that's also coupled with drug dealers also chasing him. And it's kind of like merged together. I reckon he's gonna die having ruined his family life. I think he's gonna die sad, alone. I don't even know if he'll have Jesse anymore. I think it's gonna be quite grim. I think he's gonna get shot, and I think it's gonna be by Hank. I think it's gonna be quite dark. Some of them have to survive. They all can't die. So maybe it's just Skylar left with Marie. I hope Marie dies, fingers crossed.
Well, I'm gonna let you know how you went now, Mac.
So excited.
And unfortunately spoil a lot for you. I really wish you would commit and watch it because it's only 5 seasons.
Oh, wow.
It's not 8. You actually had a lot right about Walt. He seemingly goes into it with good intentions, but you do see that fiery ego about him, that need to be on top.
Yeah.
And that pride and ego is what drives him to the top of the meth cooking game.
Right,
To the
that makes
point
sense.
where he is maintaining an empire that he just can't let go of. Jesse you did all right on. They definitely become more or less equal partners. Like Jesse matures a lot and knows how to cook meth as good as Walt. But he's definitely the one with a moral compass. He's definitely traumatized by a lot of the events, trying to disassociate from a lot of the events. But a lot of the series is a back and forth between them, constantly going at each other. By the final season, Walt and Jesse are totally at odds at points. Skylar and Walter Jr., they are completely devastated. She doesn't lose either of the kids.
Really? She has it?
Of course, everything comes out about Walt. She's in community housing. Walter Jr. hates her. She's the single mom of Holly, who's an infant that's just been born without her father around. It's really grim. She's just been totally wrecked by Walt's actions. And you hate her now, and people hate her throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
But it's like, look at what she's doing for such a horrible man. Like, how can you... Skylar's actions are so justified,
Yeah,
bro.
right.
Marie does live.
Oh, man,
But
really?
she's living as a widow.
Hank dies.
Hank does not make it to the end of the series.
Really?
I'm sorry to say. Becomes completely obsessed with the Heisenberg case, which is who Walter White coins himself as. And is the one who eventually tracks down who he is, but gets caught in the crossfire.
No way.
Yeah. So I think mainly you had it all right for the characters, just wrong about who's dead.
Yeah, right. What about the ending? How did I do?
So the ending you got points of, but in the wrong places.
Okay.
There is a moment of bliss right before the storm. He's solved all his problems. Everything's going right. Hank sits down on the toilet and finds a book that someone signed for Heisenberg. And he's sitting there taking a shit and realizes that it's been his brother-in-law this whole time. All the while, Jesse has become completely disillusioned by Walt and actually teams up with Hank to try and take him down.
Whoa.
And it leads to them scaring Walt out into the desert, and another kind of villain of the series called Uncle Jack rocks up, and then it turns into a big shootout. Hank gets shot. Jesse is enslaved by Uncle Jack and his gang, while Walter flees because the word is out that he's Heisenberg, and the DEA and the whole country is looking for him. Leading to the final episode where Walt comes back into town, kills Uncle Jack and all of his goons, and frees Jesse. He dies in the chemistry lab after being shot by his own contraption. Jesse f***ing flees the compound to assumedly go and start a new life, and that's the end of Breaking Bad.
So realistically, I think I was at like 50%. I think I was kind of close.
I'd give you a bit more than 50. You can kind of see where some of it's going, but the intricacy and the new characters that come in.
It's something I'm never gonna watch. Thank you so much, Joel, for informing me.
You're such a dweeb.
Well, hey, if you like TV and film content, we do plenty of it on this channel. Go watch the video that YouTube recommends.
Hey, but most importantly, make sure to tell someone you love them today.
Bye now.
Bye.